IVM.
Hello and welcome to episode 13 of the Fighting G.O.A.T, where we have an exciting guest, Gurdarshan Gary Mangat, with us coming up. But before that, let us the Mystic Chips, Chipalkatti. Welcome on the show, Mystic Chips.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kamra. It's so good to be here. Yeah, episode 13. We've got a great guest lined up. We had a great week of MMA. We had stuff that happened in Bellator. We had the return of Cyborg Santos, who came back and won by knockout. We had some great fights in the UFC. So let's get set for the week that was. But before we get to the fights that happened in the week, Somesh, there's so much of other nonsense that also happened in the week. The boxing world is still going crazy. Mayweather is sending death notes and threats to Logan Paul. And the worst is recently I saw a comparison analysis of, Ali's famous shuffle and his movement. Yeah. And Logan Paul had choreographed somebody to do the same thing with him. And I was just like...
I'm so happy I didn't see that.
I know. People have said that they're all unfollowing the boxing promotion that put up that video. I think kuch bhi chal raha hai in the world right now. I think this is complete nonsense.
In the name of marketing, people are really just doing anything and it's going with the flow, and some of them get more hits. In fact, the most ridiculous thing that I saw was, the Khabib corner face-off that over 3 years got some 8 million views, and these two little children who are doing some face-off.
Dude, they are the cutest kids, man. They're the cutest kids. They've been morphed into everything. That corner kick, especially, that he threw at the veins.
Exactly.
So silly.
What is that, though? I mean, who are these midgets?
I think it's Magomed's son. It's Magomed's son. His guy is Hasbullah Magomed is the kid. And right. I think he's Magomed's son. And it just began as, I think they're Dagestani kids.
Like a spoof or something of that sort.
It began as some two kids just fighting, which has become so big now in the world.
Unbelievable.
It's very, very funny, yeah.
In fact, one of those kids, doesn't he look like a kid? He's got proper lines on his face.
I know, right?
I don't know if he's like a 3-foot midget or is it an actual kid, or I have no idea what's going on in Dagestan.
I think it's a kid. I don't know what the Dagestanis are putting in their water, but let's see. But the jokes that have been coming with that. And then the new poster has been revealed of Conor versus Poirier.
Oh, that looks fantastic. Official, that is UFC 264.
It's actually it's the same copy of the poster of Face Off, the movie with John Travolta and Nicolas Cage.
Oh, yes, it is.
It's the same thing.
Yes,
and I was like, Chalo, very good. It's going to be going down.
My God, that's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, I cannot wait for that. But before we get there, let us speak about the week that was, which is Rob Font that took on Cody Garbandt. We had a great UFC card, and we had some good fights in Bellator as well, where we had a semi-washed out Chris Cyborg finishing off Leslie Smith. Yeah, Leslie Smith.
So it was weird. I mean, it was a good fight. Chris Cyborg she's always had Chris boxing. She's always had power.
Right.
But I think we talk about how MMA is measured in your age is measured in the number of fights you fought more Very than true. Your actual age. I mean, Chris Cyborg could be. It's like when Nogueira looked like he was 55 when he was 33. But it's true, man, because the mileage that these people have taken, the amount of damage and what they've gone through since they were 19 have been fighting, and somebody like Cyborg, I mean, that's all
scar
tissue.
She's 35 years old,
That's it. That's it.
That's it, but she looks 50.
The scar tissue on her face.
Crazy.
It's like Vandalay scar tissue, man.
Man, it's crazy. Sometimes I just feel so bad for them because, these legends who are known as, women with extreme knockout power are kind of knocking out punching bags in the later half of round number 5. It's crazy. I mean, it took her probably 24 minutes and 50 seconds
Correct.
To
exactly.
knock out some average Joe fighter. I mean, no doubt, a fighter is a fighter, but honestly, someone like Chris Cyborg comes in with that entire aura, that entire reputation of being this killer. And man, I
honestly think ONE FC has a better women's roster than Bellator right now.
Right. Because
all the
but
good
do you think at
fighters
some
have
level, Bellator are absorbing all the released or the retired UFC fighters for some reason?
I mean, apart from, who's just gone recently? Recently she just went there. God, it's just, it's over the top of my head. She's the only person to have beaten Amanda Nunes. Kat Zingano.
Oh, Kat Zingano
has gone over. Kat Zingano, I'm a big fan of Kat Zingano because she's a great fighter.
Yeah.
And she had a great UFC run. And I don't know why she got released. To be honest, she's still a good force. She can make her way back. So there are a couple of guys who are being absorbed by Bellator. But Bellator has done that in the past all the time. Anthony Rumble Johnson to Machida to Wonderboy Thompson. To the Canadian Psycho. To Rory McDonald. To everybody. So that's fine. But even ONE FC is doing the same thing. I mean, Mighty Mouse, Eddie Alvarez. So that's normal. But I think ONE FC is a lot tougher in terms of competition.
Right. The competition at ONE FC is much, much tougher compared to Bellator, is what we feel. However, now with the inclusion of Yoel Romero and Anthony Johnson, we don't know where this is going.
the competition bar just went up. You got Yoel Romero. That man is maybe, I think Yoel is 80 now? Because he looks 35 still. He just doesn't age. Right. It's just one day, I think one day he will just crack and break into glass. Like the Thanos snap and he will just go into the air and stuff. Because
like Michael Jackson in Remember the Time?
Remember the time I smashed your face. Do you remember the time?
Man, what a great track. But man, Chips, can you tell me, Jack Hermansson and Edmund Shabaizin are two guys that I would definitely want to speak about, and the resurgence of Carla Esparza and how Rob Font with that jab just took out a former champion and a title contender in Cody Garbrandt. Man, what a week it was.
It was one heck of a week. I mean, I'm going to start off with, Cody and Rob, because I was really expecting this fight to be bananas. Cody has been talking. He's looking fresh. He looked so good at the weigh-ins. Both of them did. And Cody had his moments in the fight,
Yeah.
It's not like it was a complete one-side beating. Of course, he tried to do a resurgence in the 5th round, but it was too late. But I think 2nd, 3rd, and 4th was all Rob Font. I mean, the damage.
Absolutely.
Cody, he put on Cody. Those punches with sniper-like precision, he landed at will over and over again. Cody was getting battered on the feet.
Well, but also because Cody had a different coach coming in for this fight. So he had got Mark Henry instead of his regular team alpha male. Do you think there was a shift in strategy? And we saw somebody who was a little more calm and composed, but sometimes when you are overly calm and composed and the engine doesn't fire, it just doesn't seem to work in the sport of mixed martial arts. And Cody's the kind of guy who's more of a firefighter. So he goes there, he likes to brawl. If he gets caught on the 1-2, he actually pushes forward. Instead of going back, we saw in this fight, he pushes forward and he goes to brawl.
That's true.
So do you think a change in strategy sometimes works, or, it's better to just stick with what has been working all this while?
I don't know. You see, because Cody was in such a weird situation. He lost to TJ twice, and he got knocked out twice. That too.
Yeah.
And that changes your mindset completely. You suddenly start getting knocked out. You're like, oh, I need to do something different. So maybe a switch in camp was good. But the thing is that he's let go of his wild side. Like you saw his fight with Asansao, where he was calm, but in that last moment, that haymaker he threw from the floor, which came up and knocked out Asansao at the bell. We could still see he was being calm and collected, but he was being wild as well. So
very true.
I think he's being a little cautious. Like it's the same thing happened to Robert Whittaker after he got knocked out by Israel Adesanya.
Yeah,
he's become don't get me wrong, Whittaker's still an animal and a beast and a super calculated fighter and on a tear and is the next in line for the championship. But at the same time, it's not the same Robert Whittaker that we saw against Romero. It's not.
Right. But maybe if you're getting success moving forward, you go on with that plan. But the moment you get caught, with someone like an Israel Adesanya, you probably just start questioning yourself if, is this the right way to go? Maybe I'll get caught again. See, because at the end of the day, a knockout is a knockout. You do get hurt, and it's human nature to try and avoid getting hurt as much as possible. Nobody goes out there and says that, listen, yes, I enjoyed, I want to get hurt. Very, very few people in the world say that. But
Chris Lieben.
Yeah.
Nate Diaz.
Well, but wishing Cody Garbrandt all the best from our side. 4 losses in the last 5. The only victory he had was that resurgence knockout versus Rafael Assunção. But having said that, let us move on to the next one. Man, we saw Jack Hermansson back. And what a
Man,
fight that
Hermansson
was.
good, man. Hermansson was great. It was a really technical fight from top to bottom.
Yeah.
And the entire card, if you look at it, all these fights went to decision, which was just a sign of that. I mean, that's a sign of great matchmaking as well. There were no lopsided fights. Everything was competitive. And Hermansson was put on a clinic, absolute clinic. But you know what? This was a dangerous fight for Hermansson to take.
It was.
Because Hermansson is already at a very high position. And had he lost, he would have dropped in his standings. I mean, he's lucky he got through. But it was a dangerous fight at the end of the day. I think Hermansson wouldn't do it again. He won't take that kind of risk.
Well, this fight was supposed to happen last week on the previous pay-per-view, but it didn't happen because Jack Hermansson's corner got COVID and it was pushed by 1 week, and they had it at the UFC Apex in a smaller 25-foot octagon. So
what a pity that must be for him.
That wrestling
fighting in front of a crowd.
Exactly. And
kind of sucks though.
and Edmund Shabaizen, man, from that gritty camp of Ronda Rousey, 23 years old. He had a great performance. Why are you
smiling when you said the camp of Ronda Rousey? Is Edmund still there?
Yeah, Edmund is still there. I think Edmund was in the corner of.
Did you hear head movement?
Well, I think his mouth was taped, so so we didn't hear that.
We should do a segment on coaches to avoid. Fabian, Edmund.
Yeah, but it was a good run. It was a good run because honestly, the striking. I mean, round 1 was great, where I felt Jack Hermansson was getting outstriked completely.
Absolutely.
And it was only in round 2 and 3 when he started, chaining those takedowns through is when he started getting the victories. So, man.
No, but he changed his strategy because Hermansson realized he was getting chewed up on the feet.
Exactly.
He was getting hurt on the feet, and therefore he had to change his strategy, man.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, he would never have done that.
And Shabaizen, man, 23 years old.
Just 23. Just 23 and gave such a stud a tough fight.
Exactly.
Such a stud. You remember, like you see a fighter like him and you know that he's already destined for greatness. Yeah. It's like when somebody like Rory McDonald came on the scene.
Yes.
You know how quickly people compared him to GSP.
Exactly.
Immediately. And they knew something was special about this guy.
Yeah.
Like he was cut from a different cloth immediately. Yes. And you can see that, and I hope, I hope he he'll learn from this for sure. He'll probably if he can work out his takedown defense, man, I think he can be a real force.
Yeah, man. And he's just 23, 11-2. His last 2 fights have been losses, one versus Derek Brunson, one versus Jack Hermansson. But
it's that's the thing. You got to learn. You got to be a well-rounded fighter today to survive. You can't just have. You can't have. And you saw that today against with Jonan versus Esparza.
Yeah.
Where one was a striker who is very Joanna Jędrzejczyk style in her striking.
Yeah.
Volume striking. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. She goes and on with her volume striking and gives you no room. But man, Esparza looked different. She looked like a woman possessed.
In fact, I have never seen such a good resurgence of a fighter than Carla Esparza, because honestly, I had pretty much forgotten about her. I was shocked that she's even on the roster.
True.
But she showed up as the co-main event, and what a dominant performance. The only finish on the card was the women's strawweight division in the 115-pound category. And Carla Esparza just showed why she is still in the mix out there.
She was incredible. I mean, the way her grappling has gone up. She Khabib'd her, basically.
She Khabib'd her, yes.
Khabib'd her, completely Khabib'd her, mauled her on the ground. It was, I can't describe it any better. It was a mauling. It was seriously and she looked in incredible shape. Oh man, she was in shape. She looks fitter. She looks much better, healthier. At 33, and she's done something. Clearly, sometimes it takes time, man. Fighters, even the greatest fighter in the world, I cannot shut up enough about this, and so many of our fans have told us me to shut up about it. Anderson Silva's career really took off in his 30s.
Absolutely.
I mean, he became the god. He was a god after 32.
Yeah.
And was a god for the next 7 years.
Very true.
We saw that, and who knows, man? Carla could be on her way back. We don't even know. I mean, who's the champ? Amanda Nunes is facing somebody. Man, Mondays are the worst there. I have empty brain syndrome.
Juliana Pena.
Oh yes, Juliana Pena, Ultimate Fighter alumni, and she's also a great grappler. Yeah. And I've always said this. The person who will give somebody like Amanda trouble is going to be a phenomenal grappler.
Right.
Who can take a punch and can come in. Yeah, easier said than done. But if somebody like Valentina Shevchenko could manage to do it once or twice, then I'm not saying Valentina is not. Now Valentina is on another planet in terms of her grappling.
Absolutely.
But I think a grappler is somebody who can give Amanda trouble. And I think, and you see, and girls like Carla who are just climbing the ladder now, we'll see what happens, man. That strawweight division is packed.
Well, yeah, the champion in that division is none other than Rose Namajunas. But let's see where this goes, because in case Carla has to climb up the ladder, I think she has to first get past somebody like a Weili Zhang before she can get to the belt. And
I think that's too far up. I think Zhang Weili is still number 2.
Yeah,
I would give her somebody else in the road.
What, like a Joanna?
Andrade can come down. Andrade can come back. Now, Andrade can come back up. She went down to face Valentina and got brutalized.
Horribly
also.
Brutalized, yeah.
Brutalized also. So I think there are a bunch of matchups to make. I'm glad I'm not a matchmaker.
Well, maybe someone like a Joanna would be a good matchup because she's out for a while.
She already beat her badly.
Well, yeah, but she's been out for a while now. And honestly, when Joanna beat her, she was pretty much in the peak of her career. Right now, we don't know how it will shape up. In case Carla can get past Joanna, I think it's going to be Weili Zhang and then maybe the championship fight post that.
I think it's a bit of a bad matchup, according to me. But, stranger things have happened. Things have happened. We've seen some of the strangest things. We're going to, one of our upcoming episodes, we're going to do a Stranger Things special in MMA. All the strange things that have happened when it comes to the silliness inside the octagon, or the stupidity that took place outside the octagon, or the jumping, flying foot stomps by Khabib Nurmagomedov to Aldo running into the crowd and being crowd surfed by the Brazilian crowd.
Yeah.
there are so many fun things that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, but speaking of stranger things, can we talk about what people think about the Bellator champion, Chris Cyborg, being the GOAT of all times after knocking out Smith in 4 minutes, 51 seconds of round number 5. Is she still the GOAT?
I don't know. No, I don't think so. See, look,
is she still a fighting GOAT?
She's always the fighting GOAT, man. No, but the thing is, I will never discredit anybody. Look, man, you've had your time in the sun. You're not going to be number 1 forever. And that is the truth in anything.
Right.
Whether you're LeBron, see, look, you are number 1 of that era. And nobody can ever take it away from her. For the longest time, she was one of the most dangerous, vicious champions in the world.
Very true.
Vicious champions in the world. And people were scared to fight her. People talked about Gina Carano versus Chris Cyborg.
Yeah.
And Ronda Rousey versus Chris Cyborg. And so she's gone through 2 generations, man. I think we should cut her a little bit of slack.
Very true.
She wants to be in Bellator and walk out right out into the sunset as a champ. So be it. She still finished her fight.
Well, in fact,
still did it.
Well, in fact, I don't know too many fighters who have given up the belt so they do not have to fight someone like a Chris Cyborg. But Jermaine.
Jermaine randomly did that.
Jermaine gave up her belt because she didn't want to fight Chris Cyborg. So kudos to her. We are so happy to see her back in the win column and in the knockout column.
Yeah. But, amazingly, that was the amazing week that was inside the UFC and Bellator and in the world of fighting. But don't go away. We're coming up with a very special guest, Gurdarshan Gary Saintlion Mangat, who's coming on to the Fighting GOAT. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after the quick commercial break.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another week on the IVM Podcasting Network. If you're not following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I would like to thank the sponsors of the network this week, Cred, G.O.A.T, and PayPal. Thank you so much. You make everything possible. Before I recommend a couple of episodes, I just wanted to quickly talk a little bit about Ankush Champanerkar. Ankush was a team member who we lost due to COVID-related complications. He was a really fun guy, and I wish I knew him better than I got to know him in the short time he was with us. But I hope that you can remember him in your thoughts and prayers. Also, a quick reminder about Pod for Change, the initiative set up by the podcasting community, along with Give India, the NGO partner. You can go to tinyurl.com/podforchangeindia, and I'm sure that it would be much appreciated, any donations that you could give. With that, let me quickly give you a couple of highlights from this week. Aditi Mittal was on Cyrus Says. Great episode. Do check that out. On The Habit Coach, Ashton talks about using the word impossible and suggests some better alternatives. On Advertising is Dead, Varun was joined by Harsh Lal, the co-founder of the Soul Store. On This Round is on Me, Gauri talks to Pankit Desai, who is the co-founder and CEO of Secure Tech. And finally, I'd like to mention that we have a new show called Tere Mere Raste, hosted by Keshav Chaturvedi. This time it's a trip to the beautiful blue city of Jodhpur, but every week he's going to tell you about his travels as a photographer. It's really well put together, really well done. I couldn't be more excited about the show. Please do definitely check that out. And with that, let me get you back to your show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 13 of the Fighting Goat, where we have with us one of the most esteemed Indian MMA fighters of the world, our very own Punjabi Gurdarshan Gary Mangat. Gary Mangat, welcome to the show, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction.
Saint Lion in the house, man. It's so good to see you, Gary. It feels like it's been what, at least 10 years now since I've seen you, man. It's been a long time, and I have to say, you look the same.
I look the same. I feel like I look worse. My nose is more swollen. I've taken more damage since then.
Yeah, you had a fight like a week ago, right? You just fought like a week ago. And you must be a little jet lagged as well because of, Singapore and Vancouver is like what, 20 hours away?
It's about a 15-hour time difference, and the jet lag's just killing me. It didn't bug me the first few days, and now like it's hitting me harder now. Like I even asked my wife today, I'm like, is something wrong with me? Like the way I'm feeling, I just have no energy to do anything. It's so weird.
Oh man, join the club. We're in lockdown. We all feel the same. I barely wake up in the morning, and I join you. Cheers, man. It's 9:30 p.m. here.
Okay, sweet.
Awesome, guys. Great to have the Indian-Canadian MMA star Gurdarshan Gary Mangat with us. Gary, one very important question that I want to ask, which a lot of fans have been asking me. Everybody calls you Saint Lion. People have seen that lion inside the cage out there, but nobody knows where that nickname comes from. So could you tell all the viewers, how did Saint Lion erupt?
So Saint Lion came from before I started MMA, before I ever found mixed martial arts.
Oh, really?
So I was actually going to a Sikh camp. So there I was learning weapons martial arts. Right. And what happened was I was too scared to get involved with the competitive side of it. I would always kind of refrain from it. I do more of like, the community service part of it, like, where we'd help other people, but I would never get involved with, the actual competition. Then one day they had an odd man out, so they needed somebody, and they're like, get in here. I'm like, no, I don't want to try this. And then they handed me one of the shusters or the weapons. Right. And it was like, I had always known how to use it. It was like this DNA in me knew how to maneuver it, how to move it. And I took out all the competition. And from there, this weird fire had started in me when I was still doing accounting. And I left from there. I started going to the temple, to the Rothwell, to learn how to do more of it. But I'm like, I'm not going to be able to make a career out of this. And from there, I found mixed martial arts after. And then the Gatka instructors were coming up for a name, and they're like, Saint Lion. They're like Saint Lion because always remember to be humble outside and always give knowledge and inspire and motivate. But when that cage door shuts, you become a lion, and always keep that balance between the two. So I've always lived between that name, basically encompasses everything I need to live by. It's kind of like my yin and yang almost. And that's where Saint Lion has always, that's where it comes from.
That's amazing.
Awesome.
Man. It's pretty amazing to hear, actually.
I never knew that, honestly.
It's such a funny thing. You hear a lot of fighters who've transitioned from different backgrounds. You got like guys like Rich Franklin, who was a fucking mathematics teacher, and he became an ass-kicking world champion. And then
he's the reason I started. He's the reason I started.
No, we're gonna come back to that. Okay. We're gonna come back to that. I promise. Somesh is gonna hit you up on that. It's just when you talk about backgrounds of fighters and where it takes you, and your journey, at least from where I started following you, to be honest, is when it brought you to India in 2012, and you got here and you started here, and we've seen your skills grow, exponentially. I mean, what have you been doing within that time? I think between 2012 and now, we've seen you grow like ridiculously. I think you came into India back in 2016 to fight again. There was the leagues.
Pro fight.
Yeah, there was. No, so tell me, talk me through that entire procedure, that process from 2012.
For me, it was always just never getting comfortable. everybody that I would speak to, anybody that was at a high level, from a George St. Pierre to anybody, they would be like, never surround yourself with yes men. Like, people that are just kind of building your ego, that are making you feel good. If you're beating everybody up in the gym, you should be not there. That's what I was taught. You need to not be a big fish in a small pond. And it was getting to a point when I was in Vancouver, I was becoming the big fish. And it was like, it was cool to go to nightclubs and get in. It was cool to have everybody know. But I'm like, nobody outside of Vancouver knows me. Like, I basically had to call myself out on that basically I ain't shit. Like, I haven't made it anywhere really. And so that's where the move to Montreal came. And that's basically what it was. I never trained in comfort. I always looked for the most uncomfortable places to go, because when I would be backstage before a fight, my confidence came from that situation. Right. It wasn't that it was an easy walk in the park, and I didn't go through any easy days. And even that formula stayed with me. And I think that's why it's helped me grow exponentially in the short time that I've been doing this, from literally having no background to, fighting in a place like One Championship. I'm fighting all over the world. Is that every single day I never got comfortable, and I always kind of never compare myself to other people, but just the version I was yesterday. Like today after,
It's the way we see you chaining your combinations now. I remember seeing you earlier in 2012, 2013, 2014. You had a little linear approach, but now it's become superfluous in the sense that your wrestling and your striking has become one. And it's so seamless now. We saw that in the Menam fight, and we've seen that in so many of your fights before. It's I think you've been putting in. Actually, to come back, I wanted to understand what kind of work have you actually been putting in to get that flow in that certain way.
I just like to emulate basically my favorite fighters. In my first early on career,
GSP.
I would literally, if you watch my first 10 amateur fights, first 3 pro fights, I would set up a shot to a reactive takedown, because all I watched was GSP. That was the first person I ever came across after Rich Franklin stuff. And I didn't have any, funds to go training. So I would just watch YouTube videos of what George did. I didn't know what he was doing. The first punch I learned was the Superman punch. I didn't know.
Yes.
So I would throw it in every fight. If you find, there's footage online of me on the open mat tournament where it's not even an amateur fight, it's like even below that. The first punch I threw was a Superman punch. It was a garbage Superman punch, but that's what my intention was. And, that's basically what I did. I think for myself, I'm a very visual learner. I can watch something and I can basically almost kind of put it together, but then I go to the people that created that fighter and I learn the little details. So I was watching George long before I ever went to TriStar. And then when I went to Faraz and around, I started understanding what he was putting in George's head, and that started making sense to me. And now basically in Las Vegas, I'm working with somebody that was TJ's coach. So if you see, I move around, like I set up a lot of my combinations, like TJ Dillashaw and stuff.
Oh, nice.
Because in Las Vegas, that's the coach I'm working with Eddie, who was on The Ultimate Fighter with during the, I don't know if it was the Conor Uriah Faber season or if it was the TJ Cody season.
It was TJ Cody, actually. TJ Cody, I think.
Yeah, it was the TJ Cody season. So I started learning that from him since I signed to one, and I started doing my camps in Vegas. So now as camps go on, I'm starting to make more and more sense of switch stances, being fluid, setting up things. I'm still putting a lot of it together, but it's getting better and better by the fight end. My endurance is just different. So I love that volume kind of style. I'm not one of those one power shot kind of guys. And that came in handy this time because my shoulder, I actually tore a bit of my rotator cuff in the very first round. That a lot of people didn't know, which is why I couldn't get power in the 2. So it was a lot of pot shots. So since I wasn't looking for that power shot, my style still worked because there was a lot of touch, go, go, go. Where if I was looking for that power in my cross, that was completely gone. And now what do I got? So that kind of worked in my favor in the sense that my shoulder was out. And if you saw when the ref raised my hand, he basically did the final number on it. I said Olivia Cos. If you see, he does. I go into it basically you see it, and you see my shoulder almost kind of go up weird. And then I told Olivia Cos, I'm like, dude, you did the final number. You're basically 1-0 against me. And that's what it's been. And then training with like Demetrius for the time I got to get an idea of how much endurance it takes, how he rests, how he recovers, how he's able to push the pace in rounds. I just try to learn from these guys and just try to figure it out for myself. It's a lot of stepping out of your comfort. A lot of people won't do that. A lot of people won't leave from a comfortable place, and I just know that's what's necessary for myself.
Well, that is in fact so inspirational to hear this from the man itself. But there was a time where you were bullied and you had asthma and you were aspiring to become a chartered accountant. So you literally stepped out of your comfort zone to do what you're currently doing, and you're doing it so damn well. So is there any specific role model / inspiration / mindset that is needed that somebody can, possibly follow Gary Mangat if he or she needs to step out of the comfort zone?
For myself personally, I just figured out that if I want to be the best, I got to surround myself with the best. And that's not just the people physically, but even the things that I'm listening to what I'm around, to even the pictures that hang around me and stuff. I'm very particular about those things. So for me, like when I wake up, I have to hear Kobe's voice. I have to hear what Kobe has to say, even though he's not here. He's always been an inspiration for me because it's not about basketball. It's a knowledge. If you listen to what he has to say from Ali, from Muhammad Ali to the greats of any kind of thing. I try to understand their mindset because if you got the mindset, you can apply to anything, whether it's basketball, being a greatest doctor to being a mixed martial art. The mindset is a certain way. You got to be a certain 1%. And the bullying part of it, basically, when you come to a term, so now I'm older, I took responsibility for the fact that bullying happened. I let that environment control me and create itself around me. Now I'm very particular about the environment I create around myself. So once you take that route, a lot of people will play the victim, and it's easier. I get it for anything. It doesn't even have to be like bullying, but they'll be like, "Oh, I can't do this because this was my situation. Oh, I can't do this because I got to do this." I chose to create my environment. I am not the same 22-year-old kid that started. I'm married now. I got a lot of responsibility, but I never gave up my dream, even going through those transitions, because that was just what I truly believed in. And I always catered everything around it to fit into that model.
That is so awesome. That is so awesome.
And that's what has just always been for me. And I always thought when I was 23, I'm like, probably when I'm 28, I'm probably going to have to give this up because I can't be just this single bachelor guy. Just like right now, I have no responsibility to everybody. I don't, at that time, I was like, it's just me taking care of myself. But now I'm like, I have a wife. There's certain food I got to lay on the table. There's certain responsibilities I've built this up. But I never gave up on what I started, and I always figured out a way around it because I created the environment around with myself. And that's where accounting and stuff, I chose accounting because it was the easiest path for me. It was just something that I knew would bring a paycheck, and I knew it kept my parents happy. I knew it kept everybody happy. I knew everybody else around me was doing it. Everybody was either becoming a doctor, engineer, or accountant. And it was basically the path of least resistance. And I was going to take it because it was an easy check, and that's what it was going to be. And then the fire kind of lit up inside of me. I'm like, I don't want to live my life. I don't want to live my life like this.
That's kind of funny. I want to come back to the point that you made about mindsets. I remember when I was, I've been the biggest follower of Anderson Silva, and you've known this. I've talked to you about this stuff. It's what you see in common with guys like Anderson Silva, GSP. Is I remember the quotes that they have. GSP said, it's not a switch in the brain. You will get what you want to go get where you need to go when you stop treating it like a hobby. It has to become an obsession. It has to become a change. Even the Spider said that. And it's these amazing role models that are kind of shaping the generation of fighters that we see in India as well. And you are someone who's now competed with Indian fighters. You're someone who's competed with international fighters. And do you think at this point right now, where do you see the level of Indian fighters that are fighting in India and abroad at this point in time?
I think the level's coming up quite a bit. I think the only advantage I have in that situation is my experience. And I think we saw that in the Roshan fight.
Roshan's a tough guy, man.
Roshan's a tough guy. And the funny thing is, I was actually watching the old SFL fights, the ones that we did in Mumbai. And all three of his fights, it's me on the commentary talking about it.
That was the weekend I wasn't in town.
that was the weekend you weren't in town, and I'm the one doing comedy, and I'm just talking so highly of this kid, and this is why. When one was asking me what are some Indian fighters coming up, Roshan's name was the first one I gave to them, and Roshan came over to one, and then they set.
You got Kantaraj as well, man. Kantaraj Agasa, he's a badass.
Yep. And but I just didn't talk to Kantaraj as much. But Roshan was somebody that always came up to me while I was there, asking me for advice, and I'm like, dude, you're a savage. Like, your wrestling is crazy. And then we saw his 3 victories in one also.
Yeah.
So I think the certain level of certain people is coming up. And I just think the way that the MMA community is growing in India is a big thing. I remember when I came in 2012, I'm not going to say it was frustrating. It was just frustrating to do media after. It was amazing to fight there, but nobody knew what we were doing. We got Bobby Lashley on that card for a reason.
Yeah.
It's like, WWE
James
was
Thompson, man.
James Thompson, and people in the media after were like, how did you guys decide who was going to win?
Dude, if I remember, there was Alexander Shlemenko and Minowa Man fighting on that card as well. And there were some legendary fighters as well on that card. And nobody knew anything. And I was begging Raj. I was saying, please just give me the fucking mic. Yeah. I'll do it. I'll do the interviews. I know what to ask.
Yeah, nobody really knew what was going on. There was Joe Calderwood on the card, and she's in the UFC, and she's a good friend of mine. Jojo was on the card, and the next time we met was in Vegas, and we're like, isn't that crazy where we came from? Like, me and her, we talk, and
it's crazy, man.
Yeah, and it was just just an education process and doing media and just explaining what MMA was, then getting into the question where now I can just hop on with you guys. You guys aren't asking me explain to us what mixed martial arts is. What is it? What are the rules?
No, there are believe me, there are some other shows where some other morons will ask you.
I'm sure there is. But we're taking one step at a time, and we're growing, right? And then we're actually, the audience is already educated before we get into this. And 2012, that wasn't the case.
No,
it was they thought it was pro wrestling. They thought it was decided between me and the Chinese guy that I fought, that who's gonna win and how did we decide? I'm like, dude, that was all real. That happened. Like this was a real fight. And so that kind of stuff was always frustrating and stuff. But now it's become so much more.
I think they got a taste of the reality when I remember seeing in the first SFL, if Somesh, you remember this, I remember a fighter called Xavier Fopa Pukam, Professor X. And and the doctor didn't know what to do when the guy's nose was broken. His nose was broken and he had a cut over his eye. And the guy was like, why are you stopping the fight? This is normal.
Yeah.
I can do this. And I think that's when people realize, you know what, it's not funny. It's not just, F5s and body slams.
Yeah, exactly. Like we've gone through transit, and it's been cool that I basically got to be part of it from the start, basically. I can look back on it that I was part of one of the biggest shows in India when it was just my second pro fight. Right. Then I came back and I did Brave in India and Mumbai against Abdul Munir. Then I came back and I did the MTV show.
Super Fight Night.
So then I've been part of some of the biggest moments in Indian MMA over in India. And now hopefully one championship, like this card was supposed to be in India, but just because of COVID,
it would have been amazing.
Right.
Yeah, but let's keep that for when I fight for the title now, right? So it'll be even bigger. So yeah.
Well, that's awesome. So in fact, Gary, there are a lot of Indian origin in MMA fighters that have actually come up. There are people like Jaideep Singh, who is based in Japan. There is Sasha.
He's here now. He's actually here now. He trains at the same gym.
Oh, really? Nice.
He's in Vancouver here. Yeah.
Wow. Nice. And then there's Sasha Sharma out of Germany, who was obviously on the TUF season. But there is something about you that makes you a very likable character. And that's why people, in fact, talk about you. They look up to you. They get you on the shows. What is it about Gary Mangat that is so likable, that has the spark, that attracts people towards him?
And all the Bombay girls as well. I remember all the chicks at the after parties. I'm like, oh, hello, how are you? And they say, you, where's Gary?
Fair enough.
We'll talk about the sex life later.
Yeah.
Or lack of art thereof.
Yeah. I think it's just that I don't try to be something bigger than I am. at the end of the day, don't hide the fact that I'm just this normal guy that just chose to believe in himself. And I hope that by me telling this, people see parts of themselves in me, right? Like, they're like, dude, if I really want to do this, like, look, that guy did it. It's one thing if you came up as a martial artist and from day one you were a wrestler and then you transitioned in. There's a lot of people that don't relate to that because a lot of people never took that path. But I know there's majority that were told, listen, go to school, become an engineer, become this, do that. And then I was that person who broke out of that mold. And for myself, my parents have never let me forget that I'm just a normal kid from a small town. And for myself also, it's just, I enjoy speaking to the people. I enjoy just like being part of this. And
yeah,
it's also I surround myself with people that keep me down to earth. They don't let me get out of my bubble. They're like, I have a wife that brings me right back. And like, she reminds me like, listen, your ass is home now. And like, I'm sure it's great out there. And it's a good person to have. Like, she still praises me and stuff like that. Like, it's amazing what you've done. But I'm also a different person at home. I'm a husband. I'm a normal person. I had to mop these and steam these floors yesterday. Nobody probably I had to vacuum this whole house, wipe these counters. Like, my life is simple and it's straightforward. And I think just staying that way, staying grounded that way, I think it just makes it easier for everybody.
That's so incredible to hear. You see, there's one common trait with every great fighter is basic humility. Is whether you speak to GSP, you speak to JDS, you speak to whoever you want. You see, even somebody like Charles Oliveira, who just had an 11-year journey to winning that title. I mean, the kid is humble through and through, and that's what we see. But guys, stay tuned. We're going to take a quick commercial break and join us. We're still with Gary Mangat, aka Saint Lion, as we come back into the last segment of The Fighting GOAT. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Come learn and experience the ABCDs of being queer with me, Shunetro,
and me, Farhad,
on our show, Gay BCD.
The two of us take you through our stories and experiences of being gay men in the city of Mumbai and have candid
and sometimes downright scandalous
conversations about sexuality, gay culture, and everything in between.
Catch new episodes of Gay BCD every Tuesday on the IVM Podcasts website, app, or wherever you get all your podcasts from.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 13 of The Fighting GOAT, where we have with us one of the most beloved MMA fighters, staying in Canada, but they'll say Indian, Gurdarshan Gary Mangat. Gary, how was the break? Did you have your coffee? It's morning time.
I did. Yeah, I'm ready to go. I gotta head. I'm actually heading back to training already. It's
what?
I'm actually training with Bibiano. I know. I'm training with Bibiano today. Yeah, in about an hour and a half. I'm training. So I haven't seen that guy in almost 3 months, and it's jiu-jitsu today too. So it's gonna be something today.
Your body's gonna be sore, man. It's gonna be sore.
It's gonna be something.
Well, that's awesome. So, Team Chips, are we breaking into the GSP segment? Are we going
No. I got. I'm gonna ease up there a little bit because, guys, everybody who's watching this, hearing this, when I remember Gary probably got a little pissed off with me because every time at parties when I got drunk with him, I used to say GSP. I immediately asked him, "Can you please speak? Can you please do the GSP voice? Can you please do it? Can you please do it?" And I told him prior to him coming onto the Fighting GOAT, I said one of the conditions were that you had to be GSP for a good 2 minutes. Like you had to answer questions in the GSP voice. Everything.
So you know what? Like just a couple of questions, quick, short answers. So we want to have GSP on our show. Like we have with us the bantamweight GSP of the world.
I am not impressed by your performance, and they show I wish you luck, and it is other shows that I appreciate. And this is so will be my final appearance on the show. Thank you.
That was awesome, man.
I can get my wife and she can do it all in French because she's from Montreal. So.
Yeah, she is. She probably speaks perfect French.
Yeah. She's fluent in French.
No, man, it's incredible. It's so much fun to do, accents and stuff. It's like I haven't
done that one in a long time. It's always a little rusty there.
GSP. No, but I can have a conversation with you as Anderson Silva to GSP. It's
What's the band?
It's big show, big life.
No respect.
No respect for Brazil. You're GSP number one.
You know what's funny? You know what? I hang around so many Brazilian fighters that when I talk to my wife, I sometimes forget I'm not speaking proper English. Like, because when I'm talking to the Brazilians, even the Mexican fighters, Brandon Moreno, I train with,
right?
And I have to pick out certain words so I can let them know what I'm saying. And you have to really chop out a lot of words, which is exactly what you got to do with the Brazilian. And I'll get on the phone with her, and she's like, "Why are you not constructing proper sentences?" It's like, why really I'm like, I've just been around this,
it happens.
Trying to get to the point. Yeah, because you're around this all the time. So I don't do the whole Mackenzie Dern freaking fake Brazilian accent, but I do drop the words in it.
Are you saying Mackenzie Dern has a fake Brazilian accent?
Oh, bro. I've heard Mackenzie Dern talk off the camera, and I don't even understand. It's just within the MMA community, that's like the funniest urban myth that we have is like, how does that happen, and what do you want us to believe in this whole situation? You're from Arizona. You're like, shit makes no sense, man.
Man, that is so awesome. Yeah. So Gary, in fact, you had 3 fights in 2018. You had 3 fights 2019, and there was a good spree for you where I think you won 5 in a row. But 2020, we didn't manage to see you. What really happened there?
There was this crazy thing called a pandemic that hit, and I got caught in it.
That's about it?
And I got caught in it somewhere. I don't know. Somewhere along the way, the world decided to shut down. And I just couldn't make it happen.
How bad was it in Canada, though? How bad was it in Vancouver? I mean, like, the population of Vancouver is like my street.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, so in Vegas, everything's shut down in Vegas, but now everything is open in Vegas. Clubs are full, everything. Like they've even dropped the mask mandate, where in Canada, they've made it stricter. It's actually stricter here. I'm back home now. We can't have gatherings more than 5 people. Restaurants are not open. We can't, and you can only sit outside on patios. And then we went out yesterday, and it was freezing cold outside. It's like, this isn't even enjoyable.
Maybe people are just expecting a 4th wave. Maybe people are expecting something.
I just don't think they know how to handle it here. I just don't think they know it. And the East Coast, which is Toronto and Montreal, they've been on lockdown for almost a year and a half.
Man.
They have not. They haven't been out of it. So we had one of my wife's friends come down here just so she can kind of get out of it. Because think about the mental instability that comes from you being locked in your house for a year and a half. And the thing about the East Coast is their weather is not the greatest. So it's cold, it's gloomy. So you're stuck inside. You're not able to see anybody. Plus, so mental health was a big issue with that whole situation.
I can imagine. Yeah, man,
that's depressing.
In Vancouver, we get a bit more sun, but still, they're easing up. I think there's supposed to be an announcement today later on. So every day we kind of get updates on going back. But yeah, it's actually more stricter in Canada than it is in the US. Where the US is just like, we're done with this. We're going back to.
I think it's more of
nobody cares.
I mean, vaccinate. Yeah, nobody cares. One, and I think it's with the level. US have done a good job with vaccinations. They're getting it rapid. It's fast. I mean, look at what Dana White did.
I think everybody got it. Almost everybody around me, my entire gym has it. They've gone it. I got it in Vegas. I got it really bad in Vegas, actually.
Oh, you got it? You went through the Rona.
I got it bad. So you guys were saying that I took so long off. So I was supposed to fight in October. And then we had to take a PCR test before we fly out. And that was the day I tested positive. By that afternoon, I was literally on the floor and I couldn't climb up the stairs.
Damn,
because anybody with a pre-existing breathing symptoms, which is asthma.
Oh,
yeah. So it hit me hard, and all my other teammates, some lost taste and smell, but most of them were back in the gym within a week or 2. But me, this training camp was hell, and which is why I kind of almost wanted those 15 minutes in the cage, because I had to see what my lungs were capable of. Where even somebody like Roshan, who hasn't gone past the first round, when you go into those second and third rounds, when you've never been there, it's a different animal when you go into those second and third.
Absolutely.
So for me, I was going back in there with COVID lungs. And training camp in Vegas is where 1,500 meters up. A lot of people talk about Colorado and stuff, but people don't realize that Vegas is almost the same height, plus the dry temperature, plus the dry heat and stuff like that. And I was fighting through it for the first month or so. I was really questioning whether I could come back or my lungs could heal or if I could really make this happen. And so, yeah, it happened to me in October. And then when I got to Singapore, I was supposed to face somebody else. I don't know if you guys even know that. I wasn't supposed to face Roshan. I was supposed to face Roshan. Yeah, I guess I can announce it now. It doesn't really matter because I'm hoping this fight happens. We basically become the Khabib and Tony of one championship at this point. So in October, I was supposed to fight Estachio, former flyweight champ.
Wow.
J.A. I was supposed to fight J.A. Estachio in October. I got COVID 24 hours before. Now I was supposed to fight J.A. again in Singapore. So it was supposed to be me versus the Philippines. It was never supposed to be me and Roshan. I landed in Singapore. So we were getting tested a lot in Singapore. And then all of a sudden, he came up positive when we landed.
Oh man.
They called me. They called me in the hotel room. They're like, "You want the good news or the bad news?" I'm like, "Just give it to me, whatever it is. Either I tested positive again, or the guy I'm facing did." They're like, "He did." And they're like, "Here's who we have. We got Roshan, who lives in Evolve." I'm like, "Seriously, you guys want me to fight Roshan?" I'm like, "I know the kid. I literally give him advice. We talk before fights. Like, I've actually." They're like, he's also heavier. They're like, he can't make flyweight. I was literally 3 pounds away from flyweight at that point. My diet was on point. And I'm like, so you want me to come up to 145 now? And I was about 137 at the point. And I'm like, okay, I guess so there was no weight cut for me. There was nothing. I was the first one at the scale.
Hang on, 145 is feather though. Featherweight, right? Oh, hang on. It's 1FC is...
But not at 1. Yeah.
Not at 1.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But we also met at a catch weight. So I think it was 143, 144. It's not like I made the weight anyways. I was underneath. So for me, it was more so for Roshan. He's like, I can't make flyweight. It's impossible. But they're like, he was in shape already. And they said that he was supposed to fight a month before against somebody, but he had turned that down. So now they were like, here's another fight. You're in Singapore. So Roshan was never like, I never wanted to fight another Indian fighter. That never. So I was kind of almost down about it when I did find out that now it's India versus India. It was supposed to be me and J.A. I would have beat him within 3 and called out for a title shot because Adriano Morales could have finished him in 10 rounds. They had 2 back-to-back fights, and I was going to make a statement off that fight, and then it just became something completely else. And the whole game plan changed going into that fight because
that is so interesting. That is so interesting.
That's insane.
And then within 24 hours, the poster came out, the announcement came out. One Edge showed up at my door with a new contract. This all happened within 45 minutes. And then when the Eddie Alvarez card was coming on, they start playing the commercial. There's Roshan's face. I'm like, shit. I only found out it was official when that announcement came out to the public. I'm like, oh shit, I guess Roshan did sign. I guess I'm fighting Roshan now. Like, it was just like...
That's like ridiculous short notice, though. I mean, what...
I was already in Singapore. I was already there. I was already landed in Singapore. I was already there.
They would have thrown a monkey wrench into your entire game plan, but because...
It did.
Roshan's a very gritty, tough wrestler. And he's got some slick submissions. Yeah. And of course, you had everything to lose.
I had everything to lose. He was a bigger guy. I knew how ferocious he was in the first round. I knew... maybe he was that ferocious in round 2 and 3. I saw those Augusta fights. I was there commentating those fights. So yeah, it was definitely a big risk, but I literally shut off the phone, took 10 minutes. I mean, it doesn't matter. I trained way too hard for this. I was training with guys like Cody Stamen and stuff. I was out, like, they were helping me with wrestling and stuff like that. So I'm like, I got to believe in what I got. And I guess I got to put it on the line against like a younger guy who could easily take my place. And I got to show him what's up.
You could see that in your grappling. We saw that in your striking. We saw it in your overall performance. And you're getting better and better. And that's what is one of the greatest things that we see. We've interviewed like a lot of guys on our show. We started this show, we're younger. I mean, we started doing it with working with Sony on the Ultimate Guide to the UFC. And, we didn't have the opportunity. They have rules there that you can, invite only certain fighters. And then we started our own show and we said, okay, you know what? ONE FC, we got to get Gary on. And,
absolutely.
And the minute we decided, and it's been such a pleasure, such an honor, and to speak to you. And it's been a great friend as well. He always invites me up to Canada, and I'm going to take you up on it because I'm sick of India right now.
My experience with Gary actually was quite funny because the first time when I met Gary, I think Gary, you were with Marcus Vinicius and Marcus Aurelio. You know those guys, right? At Axe Capoeira.
Yeah, I know them well. Yeah.
Well. So the first time I met Gary was in the washroom of our city mall when you were just gonna go up and have your face off with Abdul Munir.
With Abdul. Oh shit!
Yeah. And we looked.
Where was I?
We looked at each other, and so I saw him, and he saw me, and he's like, were you the guy Marcus was talking about? I said, Gary Mangat, and we were like, okay, fine. You know what? We'll finish our stuff, we'll wash hands, and then we'll shake hands.
That's such
true.
It's incredible, man.
That was way back, 2017, if I'm not mistaken.
It was right before I got married. So that was the fight that my entire family was losing their mind over because they're like, if he loses, he's ruined the wedding. I remember my
wedding's
wife
off.
Was like,
wedding's off.
Yeah, because I just know how competitive and how much I put into these things where it would affect me. And my wife was, I remember, just tripping. She's like, if this guy loses this, he's ruined our wedding. Like she's been more nervous for that one because of what was on the line for the summer. I think that was 2017. Yeah.
2017, 2017. So that was such an interesting moment between us there. I love that.
Yeah, that's good.
It's crazy, man. It's funny, you don't find a lot of people who are personable. But if you ever see Gary Mangat in the street, just go up and say hi to him. Yeah. He's cool that way. He might, and definitely ask him for his GSP impression, which I'm going to ask you to do one more time, Gary. Gary, can you tell me what you think about the fighting GOAT?
Arjun, listen. Your performance was good, but I am not impressed by your performance. And I hope to face you in the squared circle very soon. And hopefully I do not overtake your show. And that's, yeah.
We can.
I haven't done that. I think the last time I did that was with you in like 2017. So
I have a video. I have a video of that. I have a video of that. We were sitting in the back of the car, and I was pissing him off. I'm like, do GSP.
Oh my,
but
that's
man,
crazy.
Gary, we've got a great big fight card coming up. We've got UFC 263 coming up, and man, it's stacked. We've got Israel Adesanya fighting again. We've got Nick Diaz. We've got Leon Edwards. We've got everybody. I mean, how pumped are you? Are you looking forward to that?
I think it's Nate Diaz.
Sorry, Nate Diaz. Sorry, Nate Diaz. My mistake.
Nate Diaz.
Oh, damn it! I screwed up.
Well, it's the gin talking, so that's
for
fine.
every screw up on the fighting GOAT, we have to take body shots.
Yeah.
There you go.
So hang on. I'm leading though because I have to hit him 5 more times.
He is leading. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I love being a fan of the sport. I love I was a fan before I was ever a fighter. So I like to get excited. I like to get excited for cards and stuff like that. And this was Israel Adesanya is just somebody that another person whose mindset I love studying. He goes to New Zealand but he does come to Tiger Muay Thai where I train also. The Hickman brothers are actually in Vegas right now with Volkanovski, filming The Ultimate Fighter. I was actually out with them. I'm telling you, if there's one guy, like we'll get back to the card, but if there's one guy you need to party with that is just a complete animal is Alex Volkanovski.
Really?
It is. I got pictures and I put the pictures in like order. We're trying to get a group photo at Encore Beach Club. And holy shit, man, this guy, I'm pretty sure he blacked out. Yeah. I think he landed in the pool. and then he did it again. Then he did it again the next day. Then he did it again the day after.
I got to party with him.
Dude, he's a different level, man.
That is why he's not coming on the show because I've called him so many times. He's like, yeah, maybe next time. Maybe next time.
But you got to tell him, man. We got an open bar here. We're drinking. We're having fun.
He'll clean you guys out. He's an animal, man.
And that is a chance I'm willing to take. But on that note, man, Gary, it's been incredible. I'm so happy that you took the time out of your busy schedule to do this. We're always happy to have you on the Fighting GOAT. We look forward to doing this again. And hopefully, maybe if our plans go right, we might be doing this in person before your fight sometime in the future. So This is both me, Somesh the Superhuman, and Chips the Mystic, because I predict them. saying good morning and good night from India to the Saint Lion, Gurdarshan Gary Mangat. Thank you so much, guys. Tune in for much, much more content only on IVM Podcasts. Quickly, Somesh, Kamra, what are your handles?
Well, you can hit me up on Twitter, Somesh_Kamra, and on Instagram, Somesh.Kamra.
And Gary Mangat, give us your handles.
Mine is Saint Lion all across, whether it's on Twitter or Instagram. If you're looking for stock tips, go to Twitter. If you want to watch my fight career, go to Instagram.
All right. And yours truly is on Instagram, Arjun_Chipalkatti. And on Twitter is at Mystic Chipal. So guys, stay tuned. You're going to have a great time. We had a great conversation with Saint Lion, Gurdarshan Gary Mangat. This is Chips and Kamra saying sayonara and see you next time.
We live in an age of disruption, of immense change in every aspect of work, life, and business. But is the old way of doing things truly dead? And are we ever going to stop saying the new normal? Join me, Varun Dugirala, on Advertising is Dead every Tuesday as I talk to entrepreneurs, leaders, creators, and change makers from across business, media, marketing, and beyond to dig a little deeper into how we got here, what we're doing now, and where we're headed. You can catch all the episodes of Advertising is Dead on the IVM Podcast website, app, or wherever you get your podcast from.
पेश खिदमत है आपकी शान में हमारे अंजुमन से. Hi, I am Sadaf.
And I'm Arjun. खाने का इतिहास, economics, policy, psychology, सब है मेन्यू पे.
Only on the Naan Curry podcast every Wednesday. सिर्फ IVM Podcast app या वेबसाइट पर या फिर जहां से भी आप अपने पॉडकास्ट सुनते हो.